alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you. Most welcome everyone to this webinar. A lot of people have already started putting questions, so I appreciate that. Our webinars are going to take place every week. We will try and change timings so that it suits every region in the world. Before that, I would like to thank you again for joining us in the last webinar, for the amazing amount of support, the good wishes, and the hundreds of people who are joining us in these webinars. Inshallah, our aim with Islamicly, as I've said earlier as well, is to impart education, impart empowerment, enable Sharia compliant investments to grow, and inshallah, together we will be able to take this industry to a new height. We're building tools, we're building processes, we're building knowledge base so that common people who would want to invest in Sharia compliant manner can get the required tools, knowledge, experience of comfortably investing in Sharia compliant stocks. Okay, whoever has joined us till now can definitely input questions all along as I speak, and I will answer these questions as usual to the last question which comes. So we will not end this webinar unless we finish all the questions, but we should always keep timing in mind. This is for about 90 minutes. I think it's slightly longer, so we'll try and finish it earlier. So keep on putting your questions and we will inshallah try and answer them. This webinar is dedicated to dividend purification. There has been a lot of questions about dividend purification and what is applicable, what is not applicable, why is it applicable, why is it not applicable. I would want to clarify all of those questions and give you answers as to what is dividend purification, how you can go ahead and purify dividends, what has to be purified, what does not have to be purified, the essence of purification, and what does it achieve. Apart from that, I hope all of you are users of Islamicly, and if you are using the free version, I strongly recommend that you upgrade to the premium version. We have very reasonable prices in terms of for subscriptions, and you will be benefited through all the research that we keep sending. For users from India, we sent a research report yesterday on Reliance that a lot of people were asking us whether Reliance is Sharia compliant or not. So we sent a research report yesterday regarding Reliance, and Reliance says that they effectively became net debt free because of the massive amount of funding that they've raised. But does that affect Sharia compliance? How does the process work? To give you more details, please go read that research report as well. We always do short reports. We don't want to give a big academic report out there because it's for common users, it's for practical purposes. At max, a 5 to 6 minute read. At max, that's what we try to do. Okay, we have quite a number of people who have already come in, and we will start right away. And I would straight away jump to dividend purification. The screening criteria, as you would have seen on Islamicly website or on the app, states there are 3 parts of screening. Okay, some interesting questions also coming in. Okay, I'll take all the questions. Inshallah, don't worry, I'll take all the questions. There are 3 parts of screening. The first part is we need to assess if the sector of a company is compliant or not, right? It's very simple. Everybody understands this, whether sector compliance is achieved by a company or not. I'll try and bring up the Sharia criteria, and I'll try and share my screen as well so that we understand what I'm talking about and everybody can follow along with me as well. So I'll now share my screen. I might not be visible along with the screen, but there we go. Let me share my screen. Yeah. Right. Now I've opened up the Islamicly.com website, which talks about Sharia equity screening for equities. As I said, there are three parts to screening. The first part is business sector screening. The second part is financial ratio screening, as you can see here. And the third part is dividend purification, as you can see here. All right. So there are three parts to screening. The first part, we all understand that companies should not have revenues from alcohol, financial services, gambling, pork-related activities, pornography, tobacco, advertising, media and entertainment, and trading of gold and silver on deferred basis. If a company does not derive revenue from any of these activities, or it derives less than 5% of revenue from these activities, it is considered Sharia compliant. Clear? Right. Now, if you make a clear understanding of my last statement, it says companies which derive less than 5% of its revenues from any of these activities are considered Sharia compliant from a sector perspective. So please bear this in mind, right? So up until 5%, there is a tolerance limit for passing the sector criteria. For example, if a company is selling 100 rupees of goods or $100 worth of goods in a year, out of that, $98 is contributed by selling, let's say, for example, tires. Okay, tires, car tires, truck tires, whatever that be. But it has 2% or $2 revenue from, let's say, selling alcohol. This company, since it derives less than 5%, $2 is 2%, less than 5% of revenue from a Sharia non-compliant activity, it will still pass the sector screening. So Sharia criteria allows for 5% tolerance limit on sector screening, which is a business side screening. Okay. Do not worry that why and how this is going to be treated. I will take you through what is the treatment for this non-permissible income as well as we move along. So there are three parts to screening, as you can see on my screen: business sector screening, financial ratio screening, and dividend purification. To pass the first sector, that is the business sector screening, you need to derive less than 5% revenue from any of these non-permissible activities. Step one, so you've cleared that. Step two is the financial ratio screening. Over here, there are three ratios again: cash compliance, as you can see here. There's leverage compliance, which is debt compliance, and there is accounts receivables as well. So there is this is the first one, this is the second one, and this is the third one. It's clearly mentioned on the website. Okay, so if a company passes these three ratios also, it is considered to be a Sharia compliant company. Correct? You can see all of these on the Islamicly website as well. Like, for example, for the Indian market, Reliance for that matter, if you click on it, and you can see it passes the business activity, is a pass. It fails the debt ratio. It passes the cash compliance one ratio. It passes the receivables ratio. But still, it is non-compliant because it fails the debt compliance ratio. All right. Now, let's see some other companies. Let me go to United States. Okay. And let's see, loading. Anyway, it's taking some time to load because the internet is taking a lot more load today. Any which way. Let me come back to stop screening. Yes. So the first criteria, as you have seen, is the sector screening. The second is the financial ratio screening. If both of these pass, the company is supposed to become Sharia compliant. That means you can invest in that company and it is a permissible company to invest in. On Islamicly app, if you see a tile on the app which is green, that means it's Sharia compliant. There's absolutely no problem in investing in it. If the tile is red, it is non-compliant. That means you cannot invest in that company. All right. Couple of questions more have come. Anyway, I'll answer all of those inshallah as well. Now, once a company is adjudged compliant, there is one more process which is left, which is purification. Okay. Now, there is a massive amount of confusion as to what is purification and what is it applicable on. All right. Let me start with the principles. Then let me get down to the reasons for that. The first principle, dividend purification is applicable only on the dividends that you receive from the company. Okay, what does this mean? It means that if you have invested in a company, let's say for example Apple, which is Sharia compliant as of now, and Apple pays you a cash dividend. Okay, let's say $1, $2, $3 per share, or whatever that be. Okay, I'm not aware of what dividends these guys pay. That on that dividend, that purification number is applicable. Okay, so that's the principle one. Now, if you again ask me, if I make a Sharia compliant trade, that means if I invest in a Sharia compliant company and I get a capital gain out of it, is that same purification ratio applicable on the gain? Let me give you an example and let me answer that using an example. Let's say, for example, in the US market, Apple is Sharia compliant. And let's say, for example, let me see if Apple has come up. Yes, it has come up. Yes. So if you think Apple is Sharia compliant, and on Islamically you can see Apple is Sharia compliant, you invested in Apple, let's say for example at $100 a share. Okay, let's say the price of Apple, I'm just giving a very simple example so that everybody remembers. Price of Apple is $100, and you invested $100 in Apple after looking at Islamically, saying that Islamically says Apple is Sharia compliant. Now, after 6 months, you sell that stock for, let's say, $150. Right? Now, the $50 is a capital gain. Now, on Islamically, you can also see the purification number. Is that purification applicable on this $50? The answer is no. That means if Apple pays you $10 dividend while you are holding that stock, that purification is applicable on that dividend. If you make a capital gain on investment of a Sharia compliant stock, the purification is not applicable on the capital gain. This is the basic principle. Now, where can I find the purification number for a particular stock? All right, let me share my screen so that we can see on Islamically where can we find the purification. Okay, this is the Islamically desktop. I was talking about Apple all this while. You will be really lucky if you bought this share for $100. Its current price is $351. Click on Apple. You can see it's Sharia compliant over here. You have this option on in the right. As you can see, purify. Just click on purify. Input the date that you got the dividend. As you can see, we have historical numbers as well. You can see purification for quite a long period of time in the history also, as to where, whichever date you want to see, you can see. Let's say 2019, I got a dividend in the month of June. So 20th of June 2019, I got a dividend. Let's say I got $100 as dividend. Can you confirm it? Instantly it will tell you what is the purification ratio. That means if you see purification ratio is 2.1%, we have rounded it off to 2% over here. And since I have got a dividend of 100, I'll just do control minus over here so that it looks better. So dividend date is 29th of or 20th of June 2019. The amount that I input was 100. Amount that I need to purify is $2. Clear? As simple as that. And the history of this will be maintained as well. If you keep doing this, if you say purify again and you select another date, let's say you select 1st of June for this year, and then you got $200 as dividend, and you confirm it. As you can see, for the current year, the number has fallen down from 2.1%. It has come to 1.87%. That means this is applicable for this year's dividend. And since I have put $200, I need to purify $4, as you can see over here. Clear? So you get the dividend purification on the app itself. In addition to this, in the profile section, you can also see the purification history. Can you see this? Did this? This has come up over here. So there's a purification history in your profile section also, so that you can keep track that I have purified these numbers. Now, coming back to purification again, because I've given out the principle of application of purification, that is, it is applicable only on the dividends received and not on the capital gains. Let us also understand how is this purification number calculated. Okay, and this might take a slightly more complicated view than what people think purification is. As I said, to become a sector compliant company, 5% tolerance of non-permissible incomes are allowed. That means if a company is getting 98% revenue, the tire example I gave is compliant, but 2% revenue they're getting from selling of alcoholic products, the company will still be Shariah compliant, but still the company gets 2% revenue from non-permissible sources. This is taken out. In addition to this, companies get non-operating revenues as well. Now, what is non-operating revenue? Revenues which accrue to the company, or revenues which are received by the company, which are not from core business activities. In the example I was giving, the core business activity is manufacturing tires and selling alcohol, right? From these core business activities, the revenue is coming, and we have seen that 2% from operating business activities is non-permissible revenue. Since it is less than 5%, it is Shariah compliant. But we will also now see that what is the non-operating income of the company. Non-operating incomes of the company could be certain cash investment returns that they might get from the excess cash, or they might get interest income from the monies they have deposited into time deposits or fixed deposits or term deposits or short-term investments or liquid investments, which may be non-compliant. All right. So this 2% from the operating income plus whatever is a non-operating, non-permissible income gets added up. And now this whole thing, that is the operating income non-permissible part, non-operating income non-permissible part, gets added, gets divided by the total revenue of the company, and the percentage is given out. And that is the percentage which is given out on the Islamicly app. Clear? So any non-permissible income coming to a company is given a treatment as well. So this would have answered a lot of questions which are already coming in over here, saying that if this 2% alcohol revenue is coming in for the company and I am investing in that company, I am also part of that 2% and I don't want to be part of that. Yes, brother, you don't have to be part of that. Once you get a dividend from the company, that dividend would mean that is a share of income out of the total income of the company that consisted of income from alcohol, that 2%, and interest income that the company has received, and you got a share of that. Since we have already given you a percentage, that what is this percentage, just apply that percentage on that dividend and you get the amount and you purify. Islamically makes it so easy for you. You don't have to bother about doing all the complex calculations. Whenever you receive a dividend from a company that is Sharia compliant, that you invested in, just come on Islamically, input the date of dividend. Date of dividend is just for record purposes. Input the amount of dividend and instantly you will get the amount in your local currency that you need to purify. Correct? So dividends is applicable only on, dividend purification is applicable only on dividends and not on capital gains, right? This is the first step. Now there are a couple of other issues regarding purification, which is not actually purification because purification is just this much. But there are other issues where purification is required. Now, what are those scenarios, right? There are two scenarios for that. The first scenario is when you invested in a Sharia compliant company, right? You came on Islamically, you saw that stock, you saw that it's Sharia compliant, you did your analysis in terms of investment analysis, and you found out that this company should give you good returns, inshallah. And you invested in that company. Let's say on the 1st of January 2020, you saw that this company is Sharia compliant and you invested in that company. Now, by the 31st of January, because of some annual number, a new annual report has come out, or because of fluctuation in price or whatever reasons that may be, this stock becomes non-compliant. So what do? You're not allowed to hold stocks which are non-compliant. If you are using Islamically, Islamically will instantly alert you through a notification on your app that this stock has turned non-compliant. Now, in our articles as well, you can see what you need to do if a stock turns non-compliant. But since I am talking to you directly, I will tell you what has to be done if a stock turns non-compliant. That means if a Sharia compliant stock turns non-compliant and you're holding on to it, what is it that you are supposed to do? The ruling in this, the Sharia scholars say that you have 90 days to exit the stock. In 90 days, you need to sell out the stock and close your positions. In that also, they give you a 30-day grace, the first 30 days, to wait and watch if the stock changes compliance. If the stock changes compliance in the 30 days, that is, let's say, for example, from the 1st of February till 2nd of March, the 3rd of March, the stock changes its compliance back to being compliant, you don't have to do anything. You're compliant again. Continue your life as it is. But if the stock remains non-compliant in the first 30 days, you will now be left with 60 days to sell the stock. Okay. Now, from this date, okay, that is the day it turned non-compliant. That is the 31st of January turned non-compliant to the date that you sold the stock. You need to figure out if you got any capital gains in this period and donate it completely. That is called purification. For compliant stocks turning non-compliant and purification applicable on that. I will repeat myself with another example. You bought Apple, which is Sharia compliant, on the 1st of January for $100, one share. On 31st of January, it became non-compliant. One second. Okay. In on 31st of January, it became non-compliant, and the price was $150. Okay, $100 you bought it on 1st of January. On 31st of January, it became non-compliant, and at that point in time, the price was $150. Instantly, you will get an alert on Islamicly that your stock has turned non-compliant. You can click on it and you can read, okay, yeah, this stock is turned non-compliant, and then now you know about it. Even in your portfolios, you will get a notification that this stock is now non-compliant. So if you're using Islamicly, you can never miss this information. Even if you're on the app or on the desktop, you can never miss whenever a stock is turning non-compliant. Instantly, you will be notified. Now, you will wait till the 2nd or 3rd of March for 30 days to pass to see if Apple turns back to compliant. If it turns back to compliant, no problem, story over, continue remaining invested in that stock. But even on the 3rd of March, which is 30 days from the time it has turned non-compliant, it still remains non-compliant. Okay? If it still remains non-compliant, you will now have 60 days. So let's say March is gone, April is gone. So let's say 30th of April is your last day to sell out this stock. Now let's say, for example, you've sold it on the 1st of April for $175. You bought it at $100. It became non-compliant at $150. You sold it at $175. You will have to purify this part. $100 you bought, $150 it became non-compliant on, you sold it at $175. Between $100 to $150, the stock was compliant. Between $150 to $175, it was non-compliant. You need to purify this $25. That is $175 minus $150. It's $25. This has to be purified. When I say purified, no ratios are put on this. It is just this calculation, what I said. $25, you need to donate it to any charity of your choice. It's up to you. Okay, a couple of good questions coming in. I will answer them at the end of it so that I don't lose the flow, so that you know the principles. Then we will again revisit the principles with the questions that our dear users have asked us. As simple as that. I think that is going to help all of us. Okay, thank you. Any question, just keep putting it. Absolutely no problem. Inshallah, we will answer everything and we will be on time today. And we are going at a very good pace today. Now, if you have invested the other way around, okay, if you have invested in a company which was non-compliant, okay, I don't think anybody is doing it. If you're already using the Islamicly app, I don't think anybody is doing it. But what also happens is people invest in stocks, then they come to know about Islamicly, and then they come and check if this stock is Sharia compliant or not. Now, let's say you find out that you have invested in a non-compliant stock. The moment you find out that your stock is non-compliant, because of various reasons, either you would have invested in it by mistake, or you would have invested in it out of ignorance. That is, you did not have knowledge whether this is Sharia compliant or not. And as soon as you come to know that this stock is Sharia non-compliant, okay, it doesn't mean that your friend is telling you on Islamically, you can see this stock is non-compliant, and you close your ears. I don't know that this is non-compliant now. You don't have to do that. Okay. Once you come to know that you have invested in a non-compliant stock, the rulings are very strict on that. You have 7 days to exit the stock. Okay. Now, a lot of people ask us, is it 7 trading days or is it 7 days? Right. I mean, follow one principle. If you follow for every application of every principle 30 trading days, then you follow 30 trading days. If you follow 30 calendar days, then follow 30 calendar days for everything. So follow standardization. That's what a lot of scholars recommend. You have 7 days to exit that stock. Now, again, in the same example, in the same example, okay, that let's say you bought a non-compliant stock at $100, you sold it for 150. Okay, this difference between 100 to 150, that is $50, need to be purified, because this is not halal income. The reason being, it is earned from a non-compliant stock. Simple as that. There are no 3 dates in this. There is only 2 dates: buy date, that is buy date, and sell date. This sell date has to be within 7 days of the buy date, because at the time of buying itself it was wrong. Hence you have 7 days to sell this off. So buy price minus sell price is the amount that you need to purify. End of story. Okay. Now, what else is there in terms of purification? Okay. If the price has fallen and you have made a loss, what do you do? Right? In both the scenarios, in the first scenario, that is you bought a compliant stock, it became non-compliant, or you bought a stock which was non-compliant and you need to sell it out within 7 days. In both the scenarios, if you made a loss, that is you bought at 100 and at the time of selling or at the time when it became non-compliant, it was, let's say, 90. So you have a $10 loss per stock. What do? What is there to purify? There is nothing to purify, because you did not make a gain. You just got back your capital, and that too lesser than what you invested in. That's fine. If you made a loss, there is no purification applicable, because you did not make a gain out of that investment. Clear? So if you made a loss, there is no purification applicable. Now, there are a couple of other scenarios while doing this trade in or trade out, right? Like, for example, you invested in a Sharia compliant stock, it became non-compliant, and then you finally sold it. When you finally sold it, there are 2 parts to it, right? There are some taxes that you have got to pay to the government, or there are some taxes that you've got to pay. There are some taxes that you've got to pay to the government on the gain that you made. And the second part is there are taxes that you got to pay or service charges that you got to pay to the broker. So there could be securities transaction tax or stock broking charge or whatever charges are there. What happens to that charge? The purification in both the scenarios has to be done net of these charges. As simple as that. The loss be less. Okay. Very interesting question has come in from Riaz. I will take that in the end, inshallah. Yep. So if you are trying to calculate the purification amount, you will have to consider all the taxes, net it off, whatever is left, that amount you can purify. Simple as that. So purification is always done net of taxes and charges. Okay. Now, another interesting question had come from another user saying that, can I invest this money in tax saving bonds or tax saving investment plans so that I get benefit on my personal taxes? A lot of countries give you benefit if you make investments, right? That is, you have to get a tax rebate if you make an investment. Brother, you cannot do that. That is not permissible. The reason is you are benefiting from something which is non-compliant or which is haram in the first place. The profit that you made on these gains, it is non-compliant, hence you are selling it out. If you are selling it out, if it is non-compliant and hence you're selling it out, you cannot make any other benefit out of that. Yes, you can pay off the taxes from that amount for applicable on that gain. You can pay off the securities transaction tax on that gain. But the net amount, you can't reinvest in a tax saving investment plan and get a rebate on taxes. You can't do that. Taxes are on your personal income. You are bound to pay that tax. To save that obligation on yourself, you're utilizing a mechanism which is non-compliant, hence it is not permissible. Clear? So purification need to be done. Okay. Purification needs to be done on a net basis, not on a gross basis. If there are charges, remove those charges from there. There is another very interesting discussion that needs to be brought up now before I jump onto the questions. Purification is as simple as that over here, right? Once again, I'll take you to the screenshot. Well, I'll take you to the screenshot and show you how purification has to be done. I'll share my screen. Very, very simple. You go to the universe of stocks. Let's say I want to be in United States. All right. Now, let's say, for example, Apple is Shariah compliant. I click on it. And I have the purification ratio over here as well. So very, very simply, you've got to click on purify again or purify. Select the date that you want. Enter the amount that you need to purify. So this is the dividend amount that you received from the company and not the capital gain. You click on confirm. It will tell you what is the purification to be applied. This figure is rounded off. This figure is exact. And you will get the purification amount. This is rounded off to the lower number, to the higher number, sorry. So out of $50, you need to purify $1. Simple as that. I'm here. That's how you can do it. In addition, in your profile section, you can see the purification history as well. I'm here. Okay, as you can see, I have purified $50 for Apple. Yeah, that's how it functions. I will bring back myself. Yeah. There is another interesting thing which is linked, which is linked to the purification numbers. Okay. Before I get to that, let me also tell you that you don't have to bother about calculating the purification ratio. Islamicly gives it for every stock. Okay, Islamicly gives does all the research, conducts every stock screening, figures out all the dividend purification ratios and gives it out to you in a very simple and easy to use manner. Hence, please do subscribe. Please go upgrade your plans. Whatever is your budget. If you go for annual plans, you get a discount already inbuilt. If you go for multiple markets, you get a 50% or 25% discount based on markets. And this is all inbuilt in the app itself. You don't have to wait for a discount code or get in touch with anybody. If you don't have that kind of a budget, you can still subscribe to our quarterly plans, which is cheaper than our monthly plans. If you still want to try us out for on a monthly basis, take the monthly plans and it will be auto-renewed and you don't have to bother about subscribing again and again. And it will get deducted from your card account on a monthly basis. If you need to cancel your subscription, you can go to the profile page and cancel your subscription as well. As simple as that. We really look forward to your support. And we are very, very thankful for everyone who has been subscribing to our platform. This encourages us to write more content, give you more research, give you more authentic research, ask the Sharia scholars about what the treatments of particular things are, and conduct these webinars every weekend for your benefit. Now, before I move on to the questions, there's one last topic that I'd like to cover. And before I move on to answering the questions, I have one last point that I would like to discuss about treatment of interest income while doing screening. Before I move on, There is on the app as well as on the Islamicly blog an article about this with reference to a company called Moderna. But the principles are all mentioned over there. So if you don't understand anything that I speak about over here, please go and read that article and you will get a better understanding. The Sharia criteria tells you that the tolerance limit for non-permissible incomes is 5%. That means if a company gets less than 5% revenue from any of the non-permissible activities, it is Sharia compliant. In that sense, you will be thinking that purification for a stock should be less than 5% in any case. Because if it is more than 5%, it should have fallen off the sector screening criteria itself. And on Islamicly, if you see a stock which has more than 5% purification, that means there is some mistake. Brother Anwar, I can't listen to you. I'm not sure why. Everybody else can listen. People, you can listen to me, right? I'll ask my colleagues. Yep, I think the voice is fine for everybody else. Okay, thank you. There are lots of questions coming in. Thank you. Lots of answers coming. Yes, I can listen. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So as I was saying that in the sense if 5% non-permissible income is tolerated, dividend purification number should be less than 5%. That means dividend purification should be less than 5% because only 5% tolerance limit is given. This is not the correct interpretation. There are many companies whose purification will be more than 5%. It can be as high as 50-60% as well. Yes, that's true. As I said in my initial discussion as well, that this 5% non-permissible income should be from operating income of the company. Operating income of the company means active business activities of the company. In my example, manufacturing of tire and selling alcohol was the active business of the company, right? These two. Hence, we considered 2% non-permissible income because revenue from alcohol was $2 out of a total of $100. Non-permissible income was 2% from operating sources. Now we come below the line items for non-operating incomes, right? Non-operating incomes are those incomes which accrue to the company or which the company receives, not because it is actively working in that direction. It is because it's part of fund management, it just accrues to the company, it has no other choice, or it is part of cash management or whatever that be. So the company gets interest income, usually, which is non-operating income. In an example, like the Moderna example, which I had written an article on, which is available on the app as well and the blog, interest income as a component of the total income of the company was as high as 40%. I'll bring it up over here. I'll share my screen first. Have a look at it, and then we'll discuss more on that. The universe. This is the company, Moderna. It is Sharia compliant. Passes business activity, passes debt, passes cash, passes receivables, and Sharia compliant. As you can see, the stock price, just about in February, it was about $20. It had gone up to $80 in the month of May. A lot of screening providers missed this because they made this stock non-compliant, because they were not able to understand. And as you can see, there is the same question which has been put up over here, that, hello admin, can you rescreen this stock and verify that the stock is halal? Some other app says it is non-compliant. Also, can you state how much percentage of their earnings comes from non-permissible ways? Let's go to Purify and then see. Okay, let's put a date over here. Let's say 1st of June. Put up an amount of 100 and say confirm. Can you see? Is 39 freaking percent has to be purified. But only 5% of income, of non-permissible income, is allowed. How can purification be 39%? That's a tricky question. Has Islamicly done a mistake in this? The answer, unfortunately, or fortunately for us, is no. You can see this clearly, right? It's 39%. Let's try and see some other last year's date, 2019, and 1st of June again. Let's put 100 again. Confirm. As you can see, last year also it was 16.6795%. Got it? How can purification be so high when the tolerance limit is only 5%? Let me answer that question. Let me get back to your screen. Yeah. This happens, like for example, in the case of this Moderna, you have 39% purification ratio. This is because such companies have an operating income which is very small, but the non-operating income is pretty big. Can you see this ratio? Operating income is very small, but non-operating income is pretty big. You will again ask the question, if they're getting such a huge amount of non-operating income, then the company's operations is the non-operating area. No, it's not. Okay. For example, companies like Moderna, which are in biotechnology, in technology, in infrastructure, mining, natural resources, or brownfield projects, when they do an IPO, when they list their stocks in the stock market, they collect money basis an idea. Like for example, Moderna says that I have a business idea of research on mRNA technology, which they say is going to give us the first COVID-19 vaccine. Basis that research idea, they were able to raise funds. And since this research is not monetized, that means they don't have a product in the market as yet. They don't have revenues from selling medicines or this molecule or this research. They hardly have grants which have come in from governments, which are comprising a very small percentage of operating income. But the billions of dollars that they have raised from the IPO, that money is sitting in the bank. Because once they finish the research, they will utilize this cash and expand the revenue. But before this research gets completed, all the money is still in the bank. If the money is in the bank, it's going to give them interest. Hence, operating income is this much, interest income is this much. So of the total income of Moderna, interest income comprises of 39%. But does that make the company non-compliant? No, because this interest income is non-operating in nature. Moderna is not in the business of lending money on interest. It's in the business of creating vaccines, medicines, or some kind of biotechnology research. That's their operating activity, right? Since their operating activity is compliant, it doesn't have more than 5% revenue from non-permissible sources. That passes a sector screening. It also passes the financial screening, as we have seen. But purification, if that company gives me dividend, if Moderna gives me dividend, as a shareholder, I'll have to purify 39% out of it. It is very unlikely, it's highly unlikely that this company will give me dividend because they don't have any revenue. Revenues come in, incomes come in, out of that companies give dividend, right? It's highly unlikely to give out dividend, but this stock is compliant. This gives Sharia compliant investors a huge amount of advantage over investing in growth stage companies if the company is Sharia compliant. Another example of the same thing, which I faced about 10, 12 years back while conducting research, was the Reliance Power IPO. That was a blockbuster IPO in India market. I mean, I could see that people queuing up outside brokering houses to get an application form for the IPO. And there were traffic jams and there were kiosks in the market. It was subscribed like many times more than the limit. When the IPO came in, Reliance Power said that we are going to collect the money and we are going to build power stations, right? A power station cannot be built overnight. It will take 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and then they start getting revenue. But when all the IPO money was collected, it was put in where? In the bank or mutual funds or money market funds, because they will take the money out slowly as the power plant is getting built, take out the cash and start putting in production. Correct? But when you see the first financials, you will see income from operations will be probably zero. Income from non-operating activities will be 60, 70, 80% of the total income, which will comprising mainly of interest income. There was this question by a lot of people saying that why did you make this compliant? The principal question that our Sharia scholars looked at that point in time was, why is this company doing this? It is a natural process. It is a time-consuming process that you take the money from investors. Because the local regulations do not have an Islamic banking mechanism, you are bound to keep the cash in the bank, get interest out of it, and as you start building a product, you utilize that cash. Since the objective of the company is permissible, and they have explicitly stated that, yes, we are going to build power plants and not alcoholic factories, the sector of the company is compliant. But the purification ratio was very high. At the same time, if the company has a lot of cash balance and the market value is not big enough, that means the market thinks the business is not going to be great. Let's value it basis the cash in the bank. The market cap will be lower. The company will automatically fail on the cash ratio because cash to market cap has to be less than 33%. The company will fail on that ratio if they keep a lot of excess cash in the bank. All right. That's mutual fund. Okay. All right. So that also gives you an idea as to purification can be more than 5% in such cases. Right. And this screening methodology is not our methodology. We are execution experts. We don't come up with Sharia rules. All Sharia rules, all Sharia standards, all Sharia methodologies, all Sharia interpretations is exclusively given by our Sharia scholars. Right? You can read about the Sharia scholars profile on our website. We can also we are very proud to be associated with Sharia scholars of this caliber. We are thankful for them to guiding us for almost 20 years now. Our Sharia scholars have been one of the most pioneering members of the entire Sharia screening industry. They have essentially been the founding members of AOFI as well. A couple of our current scholars, a couple of our scholars which are there in our peripheral reach as well, they may not be scholars on the Islamicly Sharia board, but we have access to them in terms of research, in terms of speaking to them, because we are the research providers in the Sharia board and in other Sharia boards as well. And I personally represent our company in the Sharia boards. The scholars that we interact with, the scholars from whom we understand the way things or methodologies have to be implemented, are, alhamdulillah, the pioneers, the most important personalities, the most well-read, the most well-researched, the most understanding people in this screening industry. And a lot of these people are also part of the AOFI Sharia Standards Board. I mean, even if you see Dr. Al-Ghari, who is our company, our Sharia committee chairman, is also a member of the Sharia standard setting body of AOFI. So we are not any different from AOFI. We're an extension of what AOFI has. We're an extension of the AOFI criteria. So in terms of credibility, alhamdulillah, we are blessed to have the company of such Sharia scholars. And from the management's perspective, we are committed, 100% committed to always be Sharia scholars guided and never try and do things or interpret things on our own. We would never do that. Inshallah, inshallah, inshallah. This is a big commitment. I mean, having a big Sharia scholars board of the best Sharia scholars requires a massive amount of investment. Alhamdulillah, we're willing to make it for you. And we look forward to you subscribing. It is your support which is going to keep this alive. It's a massive effort that is being going on over here at the back end. In spite of the COVID-19 scare, in spite of the lockdowns, in spite of the challenges of working from home, we are striving to give you the best, the most credible, the most well-researched, the most precise, updated daily Sharia screening information. Now let's get back to the questions. All right. We have another half an hour and inshallah I'll be able to cover all the questions by then. Let's start with Brother Nawaz's question. If I take the opinion to purify both the investment and dividends, for the investment part, shall I purify just the gains or all of the investments including capital? Brother Nawaz, you're asking a question which says that if you voluntarily choose to purify your capital, you purify your investment amount and your dividends, what is the ratio I should take? The principle itself is wrong, so I can't comment on that. The second question he's asking is, when do I purify? Yearly before zakat or whenever I sell? These are practical questions. I think you can follow one principle. If 1 year you're doing it basis your capital gains in the books, right? Continue using that principle. If you're doing it on actual sell and you want to purify on actual sell, that is when you book your profits, follow that principle. So it depends on you. If you have a cutoff date that, okay, fine, every first of Ramadan, whatever is my trading book, whatever is my book gains, it's not actual realized gains, it's not booked profits, I will purify basis that. Alhamdulillah, go ahead and do it. But if you follow a principle saying that, no, I will purify when I actually receive cash, that is when I book my profits, follow that principle. Follow whichever principle you want, but be consistent in whichever principle you follow. That answers your question, inshallah. So again, what if I hold and never sell? It's up to you. Brother Anis says that not only the dividend, the total profit per share has to be purified, right? No. As I said, the capital gains that you get on the trading gains that you get is does not have to be purified. It's completely halal for you to keep it as long as when you bought the share and when you sold the share, it was compliant. So compliance is dynamic. Remember that. Hence, you should take Islamicly subscription to understand if you are in continuous compliance of Sharia or not. And purification has to be done only on the dividend part. That is the money that you receive from the company, because that has the tainted income, not the capital gains part. Brother Saad says, how can we find out what percentage to purify? I have told you and showed you a demo on the app as well, on the desktop version as well. Just click on purify, input the date, input the dividend amount received from the company, and instantly you will get the amount. As to the amount, is in local currency, the same amount, same units in which you have inputted. Let's say you have put 100, answer is 2. That if you have input $100, the answer is $2. If you have input 100 ringgit, that you just input 100, answer is 2. That means the purification has to be 2 ringgits. So it just gives you a mathematical response. You need to know what you have input. The response also corresponds to that. Simple as that. Okay, brother Mazhar Abdul Aziz Arai has said, if I sell the stock after 4 days, between that period I became eligible for dividend, and after 15 days I received the dividend. How purification will work on such scenario, as currently I am not the shareholder while receiving the dividend? The way dividends work is companies follow a book closure date. They announce well in advance, because share trading keeps happening. The shareholders keeps changing on a daily basis for companies. They need to have a cutoff date, that on this date, whoever is the owner of shares will receive the dividend from my company. That's how companies usually follow and pay out dividends. So in his question, if he has bought a stock and sold the stock within 4 days, but the company had a dividend record date, as they call it, in the middle of it, right? That means in the company's books, he was a shareholder and he is eligible for dividend. Okay, but when he receives a dividend, he is actually no longer holding the share because he's already sold it. Does not matter. Absolutely not material. Since you have received dividend, it has to be purified according to the purification calculation given on Islamicly. Because the money that you have received is from a halal investment, but this money has a component of non-halal income. That has to be removed. So even if you're not the shareholder, when you receive the actual dividend in cash, you will have to purify, because that money has an element of non-permissible income. So to get halal income, alhamdulillah, you need to purify that. How do you purify it? Come to Islamically, input that amount, instantly you will get the amount that has to be purified. Simple as that. Hussein bin Ali has asked us how much percentage of dividend purification is to be done for Sharia compliant stocks. I think by listening to this webinar, you would have got an answer already. The percentages depends on non-permissible incomes derived by that company. Islamically does that calculation for you. You just have to input the dividend that you get, and you will get the answer. Muhammad Irshad had asked me a question: what is the difference between Islamically and some other investment advisory firm? Please explain. Okay, very, very simple. We and them would probably be same. We are a technology-based company now, because we're giving you a desktop application and a mobile application. We are automating a lot of things for you. You can instantly see compliance information. You can ask questions. You're getting so much information. You're getting these webinars. So that's us. At the base, we are a research company. We have a Sharia Scholars Board. We have been doing this for 20 years. More than 55 to 60% stocks invested globally in a Sharia compliant manner follow the screening given out by our team. That makes us the biggest screening provider in the world. And we work with the best Sharia scholars who are pioneers in this industry. That's what it is about us. About them, you can ask those gentlemen. Alhamdulillah, they are also very reliable and very credible. No doubt about that. But then Anis has asked another question: what if the company doesn't give dividends to the shareholders, but it makes a profit? If it doesn't give dividend, if it is Sharia compliant, better for you. Doesn't give dividend, it gets reinvested by the company. Your share price increases because they made more investments in the company. Since you're making money out of capital gains, there is no dividend applicable on you. Dividend purification applicable on you. Company doesn't pay dividends, no dividend purification is applicable on you. This is the current stand of the Sharia scholars. Hussein bin Ali says, I have a network problem. Can I have access all webinars? If you've registered, you get a recording of all the webinars that we have done. Brother Anis has again asked us that 5% of revenue, right? Not profit. Yes. I don't know what he means by this, but Yeah, the screening threshold is 5% of revenue, not profit, for sector compliance, if that is what he's meaning. Bassett says you're following Dow Jones screening criteria. No, Dow Jones follows 24 months average market cap. We are following 36 months average market cap. So essentially, our screening criteria is the same as the S&P Shariah screening criteria, which is the largest index in the world in the Shariah space as well. So our criteria is the same as the S&P Shariah screening criteria. Brother Anisha again asks, what if the company doesn't give dividends? This makes no sense. There is a higher amount of thought which explains why dividend has to be purified and capital gain doesn't have to be purified. Capital gains accrues because investors think that the company's business activities are going to become better, more efficient, or they're going to get better revenues, or they're going to have better profitability, all of the reasons that influence the price of a company in a fair manner are related to operating activities of the company. Like, for example, in Moderna's case, which is zero revenues or very minimal revenues from the business activity and has 40% revenues from interest income, why do you think that this company's market price is so high? Is it because of the interest income, or is it because of the business activity of the company, the operating activity of the company? All prices, usually from an analyst perspective, from a fundamental analysis perspective, depends mostly and to a large extent, or to almost, depends. It truly depends on the operating activities of the company and not on the non-operating activities of the company. Because of this, since operating activities have been adjudged to be Sharia compliant and there is a permissible threshold to it of non-permissible activities, that's separate, but it has been adjudged to be Sharia compliant. It means any return that you get from engaging in trading of that stock is compliant because the stock has been adjudged compliant. If you get incomes from that pool of money which is dividends has a percentage which is non-compliant. Hence, dividends have to be purified and not the capital gains. This is a very basic level of understanding or the answer that I usually give for people who ask me that why is gains not to be purified and why does dividends only need to be purified. I hope it clarifies a little bit. Okay, brother Ismail has also asked the same thing. Why isn't purification applied to capital gains? The same answer. Brother Bassett had asked a question that shouldn't it be rounded up to be on the safe side? I think yes, it is rounded upside only. It's not on the downside in terms of the decimals. Brother Bassett has again asked, do you purify as soon as you receive the dividends? The earlier, the best, because you never know when you're going to die. Brother Zed had asked why the purified percentage is changed when you get dividend 100 and 200 on Apple case you shown earlier. If it is ratio, it should be same regardless the amount. The ratio remains the same. The value changes because 100 ka 1% is a different value and 200, 1% of 200 is a different value. And that's how it changes. Yes. It's not the other way around. The percentage remains the same. The dividend purification ratio remains the same. The answer changes because you have input a value and dividend multiplied by the purification ratio equals to the dividend that has to be purified. We give you that amount as well. So it's standard whether the ratio doesn't change depending on dividend. Brother Abu Siddiq said, Alhamdulillah, good app. Thank you. But you're charging very high. Please give feedback to our customer support and they should be able to help you out by suggesting you some other plans. Brother Basit had asked me a question. If a company has become non-compliant on the basis of financial ratios, but not nature of business, does it mean investing in it is haram? Friends, let me give you a very clear-cut answer on this. I don't know why a lot of people are trying to get into these things that sector is compliant, financial is non-compliant, sector is compliant, let me invest in it. No, absolutely not. Sharia compliance is a yes or a no. There is nothing called questionable. There is nothing called half compliance, half non-compliant. Already so many concessions have been given. Already there is so much tolerance that has been built into it. Interest-bearing debt could be 33% of market cap. For a halal stock, it should be zero. Non-permissible income should be less than 5%. It's already a discount given. It's already a tolerance given. In that, again, if you make a distinction between sector compliant and financial ratio compliant, and then you invest in a sector compliant company, although financial ratio fails, it's absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely. When we started Islamically, we never wanted to give out sector screening pass or fail, financial ratio pass or fail, because we said that let's give a clear cut compliant or non-compliant analysis. But it was the users who kept questioning us: is this sector compliant? Is this financial compliant? Is sector compliant? Is this financial compliant? So we gave out the things over here. Hence, on the Islamicly app, also on the Islamicly desktop as well, we clearly say in this overall compliance is compliant. It is permissible to invest in this stock. Okay, and we give the criteria over here. On the app also, we mention very clearly the same thing, that it's permissible to invest in this stock. So if the answer is, if it is completely green, it is Sharia compliant. If it is not completely green, it is non-Sharia compliant. On the app, I'll stop the screen share now. Okay, on the app, as you can see, for Apple, we clearly write overall compliance, compliant, permissible to invest. Okay, now if I bring up another company which is non-compliant because of ratios, I don't remember any of the companies which I have currently in my thing. Let's say, for example, Reliance. Okay, Reliance is sector compliant in India, but it fails the debt ratio. Is it permissible to invest? No, it's not permissible to invest, because the screening criteria has to be looked in totality and not individually. Please. So if it is red, no matter what the reason be, it's not permissible to invest. If it is green, no matter what the reason be, it can be invested in. Simple as that. Brother Zaid says, how do you know the company is instantly non-compliant if they provide financial or operating result quarterly, not daily or monthly? Why a company has changed compliance from compliant to non-compliant? One of the reasons, there are two reasons for this. First thing is the company has disclosed new financial numbers that makes its business sector non-compliant. Let's say, for example, they started off a new business line which is non-compliant. That could be a reason. Let's say no new financial numbers have come in, and in the middle of two reporting periods, the company becomes non-compliant. It happens because the ratios get breached. That means the company was pretty much borderline. It was 33% for cash or debt, or for accounts receivable, it was 49%. It was just probably 48.99 or 32.95. And because the price has fallen today and the average of 36 months has also got affected, it has breached the ratio of 33% or 49%, whichever ratio it breaches. Hence, it becomes non-compliant. So price also is a factor. But you don't have to worry about that on Islamically, because one of the most unique features that is available only on Islamically is compliance risk ratio. I'll show it to you again over here while I'm at it. Okay, I got logged out. Let me go to universe and let's say again I show some United States stocks. Okay, let's say Apple. Okay. Now, if you see the compliance risk ratio over here, it's 0%. That means its debt, its cash, and receivables is nowhere near the threshold. So there's absolutely no risk of this stock turning non-compliant. And as you can see, the stock price is only increasing. Okay. So you don't have to worry. So this gives you an idea as to if I invest in this stock, it's likely to remain compliant for a longer period of time. We are making a big change in this as well. So to give this feature compliance risk rating to be even more elaborate, and it will also tell you about zones. Like is a ratio for debt between 0 to 15%? Is it between 15% to 20%? Is it between 20% to 33%? Where is it? It will give you that kind of classification over here. And this will become more elaborate. Inshallah, in about 3 to 4 weeks, this should be up and running as well. But that's the kind of innovation we're trying to give you. Let me bring back the questions. So, Brother Zed, I've answered that question. We have 15 more minutes, which should be on time to close this. Brother Basit has asked us, can you provide Sharia fatwa justification on the capital gain purification in case of non-compliance as per ratios? Can you provide Sharia fatwa or justification on the capital gain purification in case of non-compliance as per ratios? I mean, I don't understand what is non-compliant as per ratios. If it is non-compliant, okay, it's non-compliant. Whether it's because of ratios or sector doesn't matter. If it is compliant, it doesn't matter why is it compliant. It's compliant. End of story. It's compliant, non-compliant. There is no such thing as sector or financial. That's point number one. Point number two, can you provide Sharia fatwa or justification capital in case of non? All our principles, I have repeated it many a times, that there is nothing that this person says or you get to read on the app which is our interpretation. All rules have been set by the Sharia scholars. Right? Inshallah, as we go along in our next Sharia committee meeting, whenever we have it after this lockdown and after this COVID thing goes away, inshallah, very soon, and the flights start resuming, in our Sharia committee meeting, we will have all of these questions presented again, because a lot of people have asked us a lot of questions and we want it written and signed by the Sharia scholars. Inshallah, we'll get that to you as well very soon. Brother Ahmad Sayyaf has said, what if I sell it for a loss rather than a profit? I've covered that already. If you sell it for a loss, there's no purification because you did not make a gain. Purification is on the gains. Muhammad Zakiur Rahman says, any Indian alim in your Sharia advisory board? If not, please explain the reason. Inshallah, summa inshallah, as we grow bigger, as we have more subscriptions, as we have more resources, we will get more Sharia scholars on our board. As of now, we work with, as I said earlier as well, the best Sharia scholars in the world. A couple of Indian Sharia scholars also know about us. They also know about me. You can ask them if you think Islamicly is a good and credible product to invest with, to subscribe to. Inshallah, we don't mind taking any Indian scholars. It will be an honor to work with as many Sharia scholars as is possible, but we have to match resources and credibility as well. Abu Siddiq says, please put this video on social media platform or give the link to this video so many people will benefit. Inshallah, we are going to create more content. This video will definitely be available. Okay, this question actually struck my attention while I was speaking to you earlier as well. Muhammad, I think MD Muzammil says, Muzammil, it's a very good name, mashallah. My brother's name is Muzammil. He said, I bought United Spirit. I didn't know these share is haram. I mean, I don't know what to say, but anyway, since you're here, you've now understood that United Spirits is an alcoholic beverages manufacturer. Let's say, for example, you came to know today that United Spirits is non-compliant. You have 7 days from today to sell the stock. Any gain that you have made from the time you bought the stock to the time you sell the stock, all of it has to be purified, including 100% of all the dividends that you got. Sorry. Including 100% of all the dividends that you have received till date has to be purified. Okay, because United Spirits is a non-compliant company. If you came to know today, no problem. So you have 7 days starting today. If you subscribe to Islamicly today and you came to know that that is non-compliant, your 7-day period starts from today. And inshallah, let's pray to Allah that whenever we make investments next, we utilize the resources available, that is instruments like Islamicly, which can tell us which is compliant and which is not, through a researched and Sharia scholars backed process. Brother Muzambil, I hope inshallah you will be on Islamicly and check before investing what is Sharia compliant and what is not, and continuously check if a compliant stock is today is also compliant tomorrow and day after, and continuously as well. Because remember friends, compliance is based on market cap, is based on financial numbers. Every business activity keeps changing. Today in the morning I was looking at one company which is listed in the US. During the course of 3 years, it has completely changed its business. Completely changed its business. The year one, it was trading in crude oil. Completely sold down that business. Year two, it was selling videos on demand. Okay, non-compliant, sold off that business. This year, they're into electric vehicles. So first year is compliant, second year non-compliant, third year compliant again. So and then there are overlaps as well. It was not that on 31st of December they sold off this business. There is quarter one was still compliant, quarter two is non-compliant. So compliances are dynamic. So you need to be constantly on the Islamicly app, constantly keep checking, or just put the stock in the portfolio. If a change in compliance happens, you get notified instantly. You can also have a watch list for non-compliant stocks. That means if you, for example, Reliance in India is a very big stock and is currently non-compliant, but you would want to invest in it the day it becomes compliant, right? You can just click on the star button on Reliance, and then on the app or on the desktop, you can click on the follow. I'll show you how that is done on the desktop as well. Just 1 second. I won't take much time. Once you go to the universe, and you can see the list view on the top right, as you can see, and you can click on follow. Like Amazon is non-compliant, and you click on this, that means you're following this now. If this stock Amazon becomes compliant anytime, you get notified instantly so that you don't miss an opportunity. Okay? Yeah, that's how it works. Masar Abdul Aziz, I've already answered your question. I think you have posted it again. How to know list of stocks that are Sharia compliant from USA? Brother Rehan, if you subscribed to Islamically by selecting Access Market as USA, you will get all the stocks listed in the USA market. I will show you by sharing my screen as well on a live basis as to how you can see stocks. This is the US stock market, all stock listed in the USA. So you can see my interest at about 39 stocks. The recommendation based on this is my search is 1326. Today's changes have been 0, and the market is United States. I can see the list view of stocks. I can keep going down, and then this page initiation over there. I can see page 2, page 3, page 4, and so on and so forth. All right. If you want to see in a list view, you can click on the list view option over here on the right hand side, and you can see it as a list. Again, there are pages over here as it goes up to 101 pages and more. You can have a look at all the stock which are there in that market. You can search also. Let's say, for example, you're searching for Amazon. You can search for Amazon. It did search in that market. I'll just go back. You can search for Amazon, and then it'll come to Amazon, and so on and so forth. Once you click on any stock, you will see the entire report like this. Like this is for Apple. You will see that business activity is passed. If you click on it, you will see the description of what does a business activity mean. Same for debt, cash, receivables, compliance risk ratio as I discussed. Overall compliance, if you want to read the criteria is here. You want to read more about Apple, you can read more about Apple over here. Inshallah, we're enriching this text as well. Another thing is, if you're new to this and you want to know that when you invested in this stock, was it Sharia compliant or not, you can click over here, view history. This is only on the desktop. It's not there on the app. Only in the desktop version, view history. Once you click on view history, you can see it by dates over here on my right. And on the left is the compliances. And the history goes back to as long as we've been covering. If you see, we've been harping about the fact that we've been doing this for a couple of years. You can see the proof of the pie. This is 2018 compliance. It's still compliant. And you keep going back, keep going back, keep going back. You can go back as much as you want. It's still 2016. But for about 5 years, the compliances are given. We're trying to improvise this as well. All right. So this is how you can get access to all the stocks in the US market or any other company. Okay. Brother Osama, I just spoke to you about 15 minutes back, and you have again put the question, why future retail is compliant after having such a huge debt? Future retail does not breach the compliances of debt. The debt for future retail to its 36-month average market cap is less than 33%. You can check it up as well. We have given you all the information that you required, and I think the question is resolved. Let's moving to next. Aisha, I think Sister Aisha, thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming in on Islamicly. We appreciate your time, and a lot of sisters also coming in, and that makes us really happy. Alhamdulillah. She's asked us that TASIS, another screening provider, considers total debt to assets for the purpose of checking compliance. What is the criteria in Islamicly? If you go to Islamicly website or the app as well, I will share my screen so that you can see it. The criteria is clearly mentioned over there. The criteria is this. So business sector screening, financial ratio screening, dividend purification. Our criteria is even more elaborately explained. If you click on alcohol, I will tell you what all in alcohol is non-compliant. So this is not just a business. I mean, we are giving out complete transparency and knowledge as well for you to figure out that is Islamically providing credible information or not. Financial services. What is financial services? It gives you a complete explanation. In gambling, it's just not gambling. It will tell you what all is out. It's online gambling companies. Pork related. What are the issues within pork related companies? It's in restaurants, in supermarkets, it's in lifestyle companies, animal feed companies, pornography, tobacco. What is the issues? Media advertising. All of it says over here. And our criteria for your answer is we do it over market value of equity, which is 36 months average market capitalization. We've seen that market capitalization is a much better parameter for assessing companies globally, because in today's world, being asset light is an advantage, right? If you see all of these co-working spaces being coming up, why are people working in co-working spaces? Because companies do not want to invest money in things which do not give them a direct profit. You got my point? So the companies are becoming asset light. Secondly, there is a good write-up which has been given by AOFI as well, and even our Sharia committee. We will very soon put that up in an article as to why we think, why the Sharia scholars think, not we, why the Sharia scholars think that market cap is a better parameter for doing screening. Right? We are already up on time. I will just finish the question in another 10 minutes so that we can move on. In addition to that, if you have a follow-up question saying that market cap depends on price and price could be manipulated, I am sorry that it has been proven beyond any doubt that in stable companies, in large and mid-cap companies where good regulations are there, market cap cannot fluctuate that high. And in addition to that, We use a 36 months average market capitalization. If you see today, right, stock prices of so many companies have just fallen out of sheer sentiment. Although fundamentals remain strong for those companies, but out of sentiment, the prices have fallen. Because we use this 36 months average market cap denominator, companies have not fallen off just because the prices have fallen down. They still remain compliant, or non-compliant companies haven't become compliant just because of the spike in their prices. It has to be stable parameter. Even AOFI is on market capitalization. There will be a detailed paper coming out very soon from us, which talks about asset versus market capitalization and which is a better parameter. Brother Ibrahim says, replay of this webinar. All webinars are available for replay. Don't worry about that. Sister Aisha says, as per AOFI, it considers only non-trade long-term debts. Not sure what you're referring to. I don't think AOFI talks about any of these things. I have the AOFI criteria on my system itself. AOFI criteria talks about interest-bearing debt. And when I also, as regards to Islamically, our Sharia scholars are also part of AOFI. So whatever is decided in our Sharia criteria is an extension or an explanation of what AOFI has said. AOFI criteria was set in 2004. After that, so many issues have come. Did anybody decide on that? No. Active Sharia boards decide on those issues. We have the advantage of working with the same set of scholars who are part of the AOFI Sharia standards. So we are an extension of the AOFI standards, not divergent to AOFI standards. AOFI standards also say, our standards also say that debt should be interest bearing, debt that has to be taken. I don't know from where you've got only non-trade long-term debts. Not sure what that means. Okay, Brother Rehan has asked, I compare some stocks which are Sharia in some app and some are not. It's like Baba and Zoya. Okay, Brother Rehan, you say that stocks are compliant or non-compliant with us and it's different in some other apps. This is what I have been telling on all my webinars, right? Whenever you try and figure out who is providing me the correct information or the most reliable information that you trust, just follow that. If you think they are providing a more reliable information, just follow that. If you think Islamically is providing more reliable information, follow us. What we can say about us is, whenever you have to see anything in this industry, read our article that we have written about research versus the rest. It's available on the blog, which tells you the understanding of how this industry works. We've been doing this for 20 years. Principally, if somebody has set up the research basis the Sharia scholars, they must be right. If somebody is doing a algorithm of financial ratios plus manual sector screening, because Sharia data is not standardized, you will have to manually get into it to figure out what is compliant and what is not. For example, company like Amazon. Okay, if you think Amazon is Sharia compliant because it's in let's say for example it is what do I say, it's an online business. I'm just pulling up some stuff, and if you see if it is a computer based screening, Amazon will continue to be shown as Sharia compliant. But the fact is that Amazon is not Sharia compliant. I'll bring up my, this is something which is only shown on the webinar and it will not be on the replay. We'll cut it out. It's only for you, whoever has stuck around for so long. I will show you how you can see the screen. This is how we do screening internally. This is the last level. If I click on Amazon, this is the description my analyst writes. I have the Amazon website over here, which is not precisely correct. It should be amazon.com. Okay. Annual report link is this. This is how it is. This is the segments that the company has. This is as per the financial report. And this is the revenue that they get. But my analysts have found out that there's non-permissible income out of this segment is this much. It becomes 5%, and the reason is alcohol. He also writes over here, it's wholesale. If I can click inside, the wholesale food segment has sales from alcohol. This is non-standard information. This entire thing is non-standard information. It has to come from experience. It has to come from guidance from Sharia scholars. So, for example, Amazon also has a subscription business. Subscription services includes subscription to Amazon Prime. And that's the main advantage of using Amazon Prime. That means 100% of that revenue is non-compliant. And why is it non-compliant? Because it has motion pictures, and it is because of movies. All the non-compliant activities are mentioned over here. And we write it over here clearly. Amazon Prime is this. Now this plus this comprises of 7.15% non-permissible income, if you can see over here. Hence, Amazon is non-compliant on Islamicly. Let's see it. Amazon, this is one. Hence, it is non-compliant because it fails the business activity screening. This is the difference between us and probably everybody else. I hope I've been able to clarify. Brother Rehan. Saghir says that need to purify capital gains or not. Saghir, I think you came late, but nonetheless, you just need to purify the dividends. Okay. In addition to that, if you missed this webinar, you can see it again. Secondly, there's an article on the portal itself, on the blog section, Dividend Purification. It clearly tells you all of this, what I'm talking about. It also has a video as to how purification has to be done on Islamicly. So don't worry about waiting for these webinars. You can look on the Islamicly blog. You have tons of information on it. Brother Abu Siddiq says, I'm a very small investor as I'm a student. Price of Islamicly is very high. Get in touch with our customer support. Inshallah, they'll try and help you out. We want as many people to come in. Brother Rehan says, do you have all stocks in the database or only major stocks in your app from USA? As far as we checked last, we have quite a lot of stocks in the USA, more than 7,000 stocks. We are covering even more stocks. The reason we don't have 100% coverage as of now is because we have to do every stock manually. Yes, we do take data, use an algorithm to figure out the financials, but the sector screening has to be done manually. We believe in that. It takes some time. Hence, we keep on adding stocks, but majority of the stocks are covered. All large caps are covered. All mid caps are covered. A lot of small caps are also covered. If you find a stock which is not covered on Islamicly, if you are a subscribed member, click on Start Screening Request. You give it on it. Inshallah, within 24 hours, if we have all the information available, we reply to you saying that this stock has been screened and this is the compliance information. You get a notification on the app itself that we have initiated screening for this stock. Very simple. Matar Abdul Aziz Arai has, as per your article, intraday trade. Okay, brother Mazhar Abdul Aziz Arai has asked a question about intraday. It's a long question. There is an article again about intraday trading on the Islamicly blog. Please read that. That will clarify your doubt. I think we've already exceeded our time and users are losing interest. So we should close this very, very quickly. Apart from that, in the forum section as well, just search by intraday trading, BTS trading, swing trading. I have answered so many of these questions and I've given reasoning as well why intraday trading is permissible and what are the rules of it. It's not the blanket intraday trading is permissible. There are rules to it as well, okay? So please do read that. If you have any questions, please post over there and inshallah will reply instantly. When I say instantly, within a couple of hours. Brother Riyaz says, do you cover gold ETF? As of now, we don't cover ETFs exclusively, but yes, if they are listed and we would have done some research on it earlier, it's there. So not all ETFs are there, but some ETFs are there. General rule, by default, ETFs are not compliant. For an ETF to be compliant, there are two things. One, it should have a Sharia board which tells you that this ETF is Sharia compliant. The second is the ETF should invest in Sharia compliant stocks only. Okay, even if it is a gold ETF, okay, you need to read the terms and conditions of that gold ETF, that it has to follow 100% investment in gold, in physical commodity. There's so many conditions. So it cannot be a blanket thing that if it's a gold ETF, it should be Sharia compliant. No. Abu Siddiq again asked, is intraday trading permissible? Same answer. Abu Siddiq, you can definitely go to the forums and our blogs to read up. Very simple, very easily I've given it out there. Abu Siddiq, I think you're referring to the Moderna example. I gave you a very clear understanding that business of the company is Sharia compliant, but incidentally, at the moment, interest income is high. Because interest income is incidental, it will reduce automatically as the company moves towards manufacturing or the company moves towards production. If the company is not explicitly doing a non-halal activity, explicitly doing non-halal activity from operations, then it's non-compliant, else it should be compliant. And we do all of those checks. Don't worry about it. If on Islamically you see it's halal or Sharia compliant, just go ahead and invest in it. A couple of users by now, before I could answer the question, they've already answered each other's questions. Brilliant. Brother Masar Abdul Hadi says, how can I know upcoming IPO is Sharia compliant or not? Inshallah, very soon we're starting an IPO section. You will get alerts that this IPO has been screened and is Sharia compliant. In the meanwhile, if you are trying to track any IPO, okay, if you are subscribed to Islamicly, just put a screening request for that. We will get it done within 24 hours, inshallah. There's no problem. So we get all of these advantages. We're flexible. We want to help you out. We want you to take. We want you to take benefit of the market opportunities. So if you're a subscriber, you put in a request for screening that, brother, can you screen for this IPO? We know those stocks are getting IPO'd. We'll do the screening immediately and send it back to you. Brother Abu Siddiq says, all this while you were giving the service for free. Suddenly when he started trading, we started charging. So both of us started trying to become money conscious at the same time. I don't know what to say. Thank you for posting the question any which way. It's a private question, but nonetheless, I'm happy to answer. I hope you like our pricing. It's still kept very low. It doesn't incorporate. We still at this price point also we need thousands, more than 10,000 users to just break even, for that matter. I hope you support us by subscribing. We have monthly, quarterly, and annual options. Multiple markets have further discounts. Inshallah, you will appreciate that. Okay, brother Mazhar Abdul Aziz Arai has asked me the same question again. Okay, brother Basit says that the rate for dividend purification will always be in annual numbers. Yes. We update purification numbers basis the annual numbers because quarterly numbers are inadequate. They don't disclose everything clearly. Non-operating income especially is not disclosed in the quarterly numbers. Hence, dividend numbers, since they are disclosed usually annually, the dividend itself is paid out annually usually. Hence, we also do screening for dividend on an annual basis. Brother Syed has asked how to purify the stock which turns into non-Sharia from Sharia compliant, as we don't know when it switched to non-Sharia compliant. You know when it shifted to Sharia, non-Sharia. When a stock which was Sharia compliant turned non-compliant, if you are on Islamicly app, you instantly get a notification if that stock is part of your portfolio. Apart from that, also all the changes in your market, on a daily basis at about 12 noon your local time, you get a notification that these many stocks have changed compliant. If you click on it, you will get to know that this stock has changed compliant. Even if you have not added it on your portfolio, you will get a notification. If you're a free user, you will not get that notification. If you're a paid user, you get that notification. So you know, and let's say you've already invested in a stock and you've come to Islamicly for the first time and you're subscribed, and now you come to know that this stock is non-compliant. You can also see the history on the desktop version so that you can figure out that did you invest in that stock when it was compliant, and it may be non-compliant now. There are so many examples of that. So the desktop version is way better than the app. Brother Abu Siddiq said, Inshallah, I'll subscribe. Jazakallah khair. Again, Abu Siddiq is asking, is intraday halal? Yes, it is halal, subject to conditions. Read the article which is there. Brother Riyaz says, can you suggest some good stocks in India? We don't do stock recommendations. It's illegal for us to do it. We're not an investment advisor. Brother Faiz says, what about dividend from sector mutual fund? No idea. Emmy says, will this recording be on YouTube? Inshallah, yes, it will be there on YouTube. Dividend purification, which date? Record date or receive date? It's receive date. How do we care about what is the record date? And the date on the app is immaterial, right? It's just a record. The amount is multiplied by the ratio. The date is not material. Okay, Brother Basit says, brother, I have asked Muftis regarding my question. His question was, if the sector is compliant and the financials are non-compliant, can I invest in it? Absolute clarity from the most authentic, the guys who have put 30 to 40 years of their lives in researching only Islamic finance. Absolutely crystal clear guidelines that a compliant company has to pass both the criteria. You can't be selective. Can't be selective. It has to pass. Absolutely crystal clear. There is absolutely no ambiguity among scholars of repute that to be called a Sharia compliant stock, it has to pass the criteria set. You can't have a partial implementation of the criteria. It will just be a mockery. Brother Muzammil, I think you have the same question as Brother Basit, same answer. We're almost nearing the end of the questions. I'll quickly finish it. Emmy has again asked, is intraday trading allowed? The same question. Emmy, yes, intraday trading is allowed. Inshallah, in the next webinar, I am going to talk only about intraday trading. The questions regarding intraday trading, why intraday trading is allowed, what is allowed in intraday trading, what is not allowed in intraday trading, options, futures, CFD, all of that I'll be talking about in the next webinar, inshallah. For currently, you can go to our blog, in trading rules for Sharia equities, very small read, clear-cut guidelines as to what is allowed and what's not allowed. If you can read the same on the app as well, if you have questions regarding that, post it in the comment section below and inshallah we'll answer immediately. You don't have to wait for the webinar. One brother has asked us, will you give any discount code to sign into your app? Unfortunately, this webinar, I don't have any discount code. Last one we had, this one we don't. Get in touch with our customer support and see what they can do for you. You can click on the chat button once you are on the payments page, or go on the WhatsApp channel that we have. Muhammad Irshad has asked a very interesting question. I think it's private, but I think it's a good question to answer. He says, if the retired person from final retirement amount is earning less than 5% interest income, is it acceptable since halal screening is accepting 5% tolerance? Absolutely no. Halal screening for stocks, these are the rules. Okay. If I apply the same rules, that would mean I can consume any drink which has 5% alcohol or 4% alcohol. Most beers have probably 4% alcohol. It becomes halal. No, it doesn't. This is a separate issue altogether. It has a derived criteria. For personal incomes, and that's the reason purification is also there, because once the income comes to you, it has to be Sharia compliant. You need to purify the non-permissible parts, hence purification. In your instant case, if you're getting 5% interest income, 5% income, you're getting interest at the rate of 5%, or let's say you're earning less than 5% interest income out of your total income, whatever it be, any interest income coming to you has to be purified. End of story. That's personal. That's rules for personal incomes. So there are rules separately made for different things in Islam, right? So the rules that we're talking about is only for Sharia screening for investment equities of companies which are listed, specifically for that. It's not general Sharia rules. Emmy, I think you have your question is already answered on the Islamicly forum, as well as you can read the article on intraday trading. That will clearly give you an answer as to what you're trying to talk about. And if not, just send us a 1:1 query on an email, info@islamicly.com, and I'll answer that for you. Zayed has asked us, I'm not sure what you're asking. Ismail says, can you suggest a good brokerage platform? We don't do recommendations, sorry. Recording inshallah will be somebody asked me some private question. I'll reply to him later. There are a couple of more suggestions. Inshallah, we'll take the suggestions. Ami has asked me a question. Ismail says, what do you think about cryptocurrency? Is it permissible? It depends on a case-to-case basis. Purification and zakat are not the same. Okay, Saliman has asked a question, that is purification akin to zakat. No, zakat is a different thing. Purification is different. It has nothing to do with each other. Okay, I am almost done with the questions. Brother Mazhar Abdul Aziz Arai, all of you must have known his name, says that he asked me a couple of more questions. Let me try and find what is that question that I missed. He asked me a question on which date, record date or dividend received date. I have answered that. The day you receive the dividend, put that date. Anyway, date on Islamicly App does not matter. It's the dividend that you receive matters, because dividend that you've received is multiplied by the purification ratio is equal to the amount that you need to purify. Input currency is equal to the output currency. Let's see next. Okay, you want me to answer the intraday question? I'll answer it. Okay. As per your article, intraday, buy first and sell without leverage is permissible, as well as buy today and sell tomorrow is also permissible. Then why company don't pay dividend even we purchase share on record day? It means we are not the owner until the share gets transferred in demat account. No. We need to understand modern financial markets. We need to understand modern electronic stock exchanges, right? I will answer all of these questions in detail in the next webinar, inshallah. Very, very simple. If you read my article about rules of trading, or you go to the forum and see why intraday trading is allowed, subject to rules, right, is because of the development of the modern stock exchanges. The lot of people give a wrong assessment and confuse themselves between ownership and entry in the record of the company, right? It's two different things. Yes, when you buy a stock today, within probably 30 seconds or even less than a couple of seconds, you get a notification on your mobile as an SMS or an email that your order has been executed. That means your broker has secured that order at the stock exchange and has ensured that you are the new owner of that stock. Since the stock changes hands on a very frequent basis, the company's registers and company's act has a different process to follow as to who is the owner of my share that I have to record in the books. Okay, although all buy and sell data of your company is with the company as well. Please do read stock exchange rules. There are thousands of pages over there and you get confused. It's okay. I'll inshallah clarify that next week. There are hundreds of pages in your brokerage forms that you get confused with. But if you're trading with Zerodha or any of the Indian brokers, digital brokers, I have even quoted from Zerodha in my reply on the forum as to why intraday trading is permissible and what constitutes your ownership. At what point is it proven without doubt that you are the owner? You are the owner of a stock without doubt is not when you get the money in your when you get the shares in your demat. No, you are the owner of that stock when you get a confirmation from your broker that your order has been executed. You read the terms and condition. It says your ownership is established when you get an SMS or an email confirmation that your order is executed. Because at that point your money also gets deducted from your bank account. So please don't confuse yourselves. The earlier 20, 30 year back understanding that when the money comes into the demat, into the name, the register of the company was different because of the 30 years back, there was no electronic exchanges. Things had to be done manually, and exchanges and brokers used to do things manually. Today it's electronic, it's instant. Things have changed. Now, if you ask me that whether it is MIS option or CNC option, I don't trade, right? I don't know what option that is, but if you are allowed to take delivery in an option, whatever it is, MIS or CNC, I don't know which option allows you to take delivery. If you wish to, you should utilize that. But if you sell it before you take delivery, it's compliant. Okay, let's search for his next question. Mazhar Abdul Aziz Arai, you asked me 4 days in the middle if you get dividend. I answered you this with this example. It's already answered. IPOs, inshallah, we will cover. If you have any IPO that you want to be covered and if you're a paid subscriber, just request for screening and we'll answer it immediately. You have put all, I have answered all your questions. Can you please confirm if I've answered all your questions by putting a comment? Okay, index mutual fund question. I asked that. I said, index mutual fund. First of all, is it compliant? I'm answering to Muhammad Irshad. Okay, index mutual fund. If it is compliant, I don't see any index mutual fund in India or I think you're from India itself, which is compliant. If it is compliant, the asset manager who is running the index mutual fund will give you the purification amount, right? We don't know. You don't have to come to Islamicly because we don't know what all he's invested in. We don't know which index he's put in the money. The index provider, the mutual fund manager, will give you the purification. It is his obligation to give it. If they say it is Sharia compliant, they're obligated to give the mutual fund dividend purification number. Ask them if you have invested in any index mutual fund, they should be able to give you the purification number themselves. That is the answer. Okay, Brother Bassett says, if dividend rate is of last year, okay, Brother Bassett, we update dividend purifications on a yearly basis. Okay, so let's say for example, we do it for FY19 and FY20. Any dividend received between these two periods, purify using this. Any dividend received after this FY20 analysis, use this. Simple. Again, Muhammad Irshad said, is it possible to provide purification calculation for investing in index mutual fund? I don't know the index constituents. I don't know how the index is Sharia compliant or not. I don't have the relevant information to give you the purification number. If it is a Sharia compliant index mutual fund, they are bound to give you the purification. Ask them. Thank you, brother. Brother Basit, I've answered your question also. I hope your last question about dividend of last year, FY19 and June 19, I've answered that as well. That brings us to the end of this webinar. Although we intended to complete it in 90 minutes, we are already 120 minutes. Jazakallah khair for being with us. Webinars will be conducted every Saturday. Notifications will come out regarding timings. We're making a sincere effort to give you all the information and to answer all your questions. We expect and we sincerely hope that you subscribe to Islamicly and support us in this endeavor. We will try and bring you the most updated, the most latest, the most authentic, the most credible Sharia compliant information. Not because I am saying so, because you can do the research yourself. You can find out where we are wrong, where we are correct. You can compare ourselves with anybody in this industry and make your own assessment. We hope you trust us. We hope that you challenge us. We hope that you subscribe to us and keep investing Islamically. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.